Hello and welcome to Press TV's Top 5. I'm Marzieh Hashemi. Thanks so much for being with us. First story this hour takes us to Syria, where reports coming out from Syria suggest that deadly clashes are ongoing between government troops and U.S.-backed forces in the eastern part of the country. Syrian media say the army has captured several villages from the so-called Syrian Democratic Forces in the province of Dayr Al-Zawr. But the SDF claims it has recaptured the villages. The SDF is a group of Kurdish and Arab forces supported by the United States. It is in control of much of the territory east of the Euphrates River near the border with Iraq. Turning to Ohio, joined by senior editor of Veterans Today, Gordon Duff. Thank you so much for being with us. Tell us about this situation. Does this make it even more dangerous as we see that Syrian troops now are clashing with the American-supported SDF group? Is it likely that the situation is going to bring more direct contact with the Americans and perhaps then with Russia getting in that part of it?
Well, we had a couple of unusual things happen regarding this story in the last 10 days. We know that Russia has reached an end of its accord with the United States over the bombings of Damascus. The American news are carrying nothing of what really happened. Russia brought witnesses to The Hague. There's testimony that the whole thing was set up by the U.S. and the white helmets. This is what escalated what we're seeing today. What also escalated this is simply, and this was an announcement made in Pravda 48 hours ago and nowhere else. President Assad announced there that the S-300 air defense systems, which are capable of beating American stealth aircraft, have been operating now for 96 hours under Syrian command, meaning that the U.S. can no longer freely attack the Syrian Arab army in areas that are under, let's say, the U.S. air protection. And the U.S. air protection has typically not just been for the SDF, but for ISIS as well. Plus, about 10 days ago, we saw the Iraqi Air Force cross the border into Syria and attack the same areas that the U.S. lists as under its protection, attacking ISIS units. These are ISIS units that are melded with SDF under combined American command with SDF. Mm-hmm. And Iraq went in and attacked them as well. So Syria is exercising now, which would be a red line, to directly attacking American-backed, and including with American forces embedded, because the U.S. Air Force is not able to respond or go airborne under the Russian-supplied S-300 air umbrella, which makes American air power in Syria useless.
So at the end of the day, Gordon, where do you see this going? Do you think that the Syrian government forces and its allies are going to be effective in this part of the country, perhaps getting back more of its territory, or how do you see it?
The areas that are held are oil-rich territories that Syria can't survive economically without retaking the areas across the Euphrates, and particularly in the east, oil and gas fields there, and to the north, the grain-producing areas that were typically Arab areas that Kurds have pushed into with American backing, involved in what's really turned into a program of ethnic cleansing pushed by the United States. And that pushback is getting pushed back not just from Syria, but Iraq is seeing the threat as well, that the U.S. had pushed the Kurds there to vote for independence. The Iraqis closed it down in their own country and will back Syria, as well Iran. The key message here from Syria and from Russia is to Secretary of Defense James Mattis, showing him that the U.S. is not going to be able to protect the Kurds that far down without Air Force, without active attacks on the Syrian Arab army by American planes, that are going to be shot down. And this is a game of brinksmanship on everybody's hands, because the U.S., as Russia risked losing face during the rocket attacks that Trump executed just 2 weeks ago, the U.S. is now losing face as the U.S. Army is being pushed back, and with that, to much of the world that doesn't have controlled news, that the U.S. backing for not just the SDS, but ISIS as well, is being exposed.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being with us out of Ohio. Gordon Duff, Senior Editor for Veterans Today.